What's up, boys? UFC 303 is happening this weekend. Mario Bueno Silva versus Chiasson. I hope you guys are very hyped just as much as I am. An incredible card, an incredible main event. So I do believe that this card is actually better than what it was when Conor McGregor was around, when Conor McGregor was headlining this card. So there's more, intriguing fights all over. So very important card, very, very hyped. And like I said in the last video, I mean, you have to give respect to these guys for showing up on a few weeks notice. And one fight that I did forget about was Ian Machado Garry and Michael Page. I was supposed to actually cover that fight on the deeper dive, and I actually forgot about it. I think I looked it up. The UFC 303 card, and I didn't see the fight. I think it went to the prelims or something. So I thought when Conor got pulled out of the fight, they also pulled out that fight, and I don't know, it seemed like it was canceled or something. I didn't see it on the card, so we didn't cover it on the deeper dive, which is pretty annoying because it's a great fight and it's a very anticipated fight. So I'm gonna start with this one in terms of like the breakdown and the prediction. Ian Machado Garry versus Michael Page, incredible fight. I mean, you look at these two guys, they're made to fight each other, and they've been promoting it well as well on social media. So it adds a little bit of intrigue to the fight, and they're doing a great job, the UFC, by making this fight like starting it as the first fight of the main card. So people are going to tune in and watch the other fights after that. They don't necessarily want to fight. They don't necessarily want to watch. So yeah, this one, everybody's going to be tuning in for it. It's a great stylistic matchup, and just as much as like just two entertaining personalities, two outgoing guys. I hope they're at the press conferences. But in terms of stylistic matchup, in terms of in the octagon, I think I am going to favor Michael Venom Page. I think when it comes to the striking, those two guys are great everywhere, especially Ian Garry in terms of like the fundamentals. He's great at like the basic things, the basic combinations, the basic boxing combinations. He has great kicks, great leg kicks. He's tall, obviously, and long. We could say the same thing for Michael Page, maybe a little less fundamental, but I think the difference is the power, the pop in his shots, and the creativity of his striking game that makes the differences. Also, when you look at their last fight, Michael Page fought a guy like Kevin Holland, who's also a long-rangey striker, maybe not as fundamental as Garry, but still it prepares you for the body type. Michael Page didn't know he was going to fight Ian Garry, but it still helps, like coming off of that fight when Garry was fighting Jeff Neal, who's a 5'4" stocky dude. Like, it's not the same, the same victor, not the same type of body type, and from their last opponents. So I do think Michael Page is coming in very prepared and very hungry, and he's not necessarily young, right? I think Michael Page is maybe like 35 or 36. He's up there in age, but he's hungry though. He's just been, in the UFC. It's his second fight in the UFC in the promotion, and he wants to make a splash right away. So I think, the difference is, I think Ian Garry I know he was supposed to fight Colby Covington. The rumors were that I know they offered Colby Covington the fight. Colby admitted it as well in the interviews, and obviously he ducked. But the difference is a Colby Covington fight is great as well, just for like the build up process of it. In the cage, I think I would prefer watching MVP versus Garry than Colby versus Garry. And also the thing with Colby is that I don't think he's as hungry as he was before, so it makes a difference. Michael Page is super hungry and he wants to win. So when you see these guys, these prospects like Ian Garry, they're usually matched against a guy that kind of know in the back of their head that they're going to lose, and they don't really care that much. They're not that hungry. It feels like MVP really wants to make a splash. I saw him reacting to his fight against Kevin Holland, and even though it was a superb performance, in my mind, it was like fucking a one-sided beatdown, right? It was as perfect as a performance as it gets. And Michael Page was still like critical of his own performance. Like, I could have done better. I should have finished it there. I should have pushed. And I was like, damn, bro, like your expectations of your success in the UFC is super high. And it's a good sign if you're an MVP fan. So I think MVP wins this fight. I think, like I said, his creativity, his power shots, just the pop in it, the things he throws, it's not even just he's a powerful dude, but the angles he finds the shots with, it's just, yeah, it's insane. And I think when it comes to a guy like Ian Garry, if he gets hit like Kevin Holland got hit in the first fight and Michael Venom, Page first fight, I don't think he can take that same amount of punishment and that same amount of damage from MVP. So I'm going to pick MVP by second round TKO in this fight. It should be fun. It should be very interesting to see, but I think Michael Page is going to figure him out. But like I said, you never know. Next up, what's next up? Oh yeah, the main event. Maria Bueno Silva versus Macy Chiasson, the main event of UFC 303. I'm super pumped for this one. Outstanding and very well-rounded fight. I think we're going to see a lot in this fight. I think we're going to see Maria, I don't know if it's Maria or Mara Bueno Silva. I think it's Mara. I think she's going to out-grapple Macy Chiasson. No. She's going to try to grapple as much as possible. Like in her last fight against Raquel Pennington, if I remember correctly, I didn't do enough research for this one. Don't be mad at me. But I think she was really trying to force the takedown attempts. I think she was like holding Raquel on the fence, and on the feet she was getting picked apart. And if obviously if you take that performance and that you look at that style, I think Bueno Silva is going to try to do the same against Chiasson. But I think she's gonna find a little bit more success. Macy Chiasson doesn't have the power. I don't think to knock anybody out. I think she has like one finish by KO or TKO in her career. So it's difficult to put like your money in women's MMA on someone knocking somebody out. It's very tough. Usually I always pick for decision, but in this one I'm going to go Bueno Silva by submission. I think if she attempts grappling exchanges, she's going to be able to find, submissions on the ground. She's very, very, tricky, and she's found most of her finishes by submission as well. So I'm going to go Bueno Silva by submission. Main event of UFC 303. Let me know what you guys think. Next up, what do we have? We have Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. So that's actually the fight that I've been doing the most research on, because I'm not sure of like Roman Dolidze's like consistency. Before he fought Marvin Vettori, he was on a great run. He was knocking everybody out. And Phil Hawes, as much as you want to say Phil Hawes, like his chin is trash. Before he fought Roman Dolidze, Phil Hawes, he had just knocked out this dude. You know who I'm talking about, right? Phil Hawes was not on the bad of a streak. He had just knocked out Darren Wynn, yes. And then, obviously, before that, he had got knocked out by Chris Curtis and stuff. But Phil Hawes as a whole was like on a decent streak, And Roman Dolidze obviously put him out. There was some weird stuff with the knees and stuff. And then after that, Phil Hawes just got knocked out by everybody. But at the same time, I still think a knockout over Phil Hawes at that point in his career was still decently impressive. But do I think he has enough power to knock Anthony Smith? I think the thing with Anthony Smith is he's tough, man. He's a tough dude, and he doesn't go away easily. He has the mentality of a fighter. You know what I mean? You talk about some fighters have the skills to be a fighter, but not the mentality. And some other guys have the mentality to be a fighter, but not the skills. And some of the greats, they have both. They have the skills and the mentality. When you look at some of the greatest fighters of all time, they had both. They needed both, right? But some guys can succeed with either or. And Anthony Smith is one of those guys that succeeded with just one, which is the mentality. Like his toughness has got him to that point in my mind. He's out toughing dudes, and like his belief, it might be a little bit delusional, but his self-belief truly helps, like his confidence and stuff like that. But when you look at him on paper, it's tough to pick Anthony Smith. It really is. And his last fight, I think, yeah, he had a guillotine choke. Congrats. I just don't know if Roman Dolidze is gonna put himself in that type of position. He's a great wrestler. He's a great grappler. I don't see Roman Dolidze putting himself in bad position on the ground. And I don't think Anthony Smith has the power to knock anybody out, to be honest, at light heavyweight. I just don't see it happening. He's so slow, so stiff on the feet. His footwork is horrible, and he's just so hittable. Like his face is right there. You know, you don't see fast head movement and reflexes from Anthony Smith. So for those reasons, I'm going to pick Roman Dolidze, and I'm going to go Roman Dolidze by decision. Obviously, the only thing that I'm scared is because Dolidze didn't have no time to prepare. Anthony Smith either, to be quite honest. But you know, this fight, it was what, Jamal Hill versus Roundtree, then it turned into Jamal Hill versus Alberg, then it turned into Anthony Smith versus Alberg, and then it's Anthony Smith versus Dolidze. This fight is absolutely cursed. We don't even know if this fight is actually going to happen, but if it does, I'm picking Dolidze by decision, I think. Co-main events, very, very, very interesting fight. Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes. Look at this dude's like stance, bro. Why is his feet like this? Feet like a penguin feet, bro. But I saw some footage of Brian Ortega training for this fight, and he seems to be taking it serious, man. He had like some mouthpiece on his mouth, yeah, because it's mouthpiece. No, it's not a mouthpiece. It's a mouth tape. So he wanted to up his cardio against Diego Lopes, which is a good idea. But at the same time, you know what's something I feel like I'm lying. I just figured we did see it against Movsar Evloev. I was going to say we didn't see Diego Lopes like late in rounds, but we actually did, like I said. So it's going to be fun to see if, you know, Diego Lopes holds up against a guy high caliber like Brian Ortega. And when I say high caliber, you know, is Ortega the most skillful guy? Maybe not, but he has that Anthony Smith thing. You know, he's very tough, and I think his skills is a little higher than a guy like Anthony Smith. Like he has decent striking. He knows how to counterpunch. His jiu-jitsu is elite, and he looks for it. But I just think overall, Diego Lopes is more well-rounded. I actually did no research for this. For all the other fights, the fights that I don't know much, I do a little bit more research. But these ones, I know both guys, and I know their fighting styles and who they fought before. So it's a little bit easier for me to go off the cusp. And I just think Diego Lopes overall is more well-rounded. Like power, grappling, speed, reflexes, hunger, like everything about Diego Lopes. So it would just be stupid for me to pick, I don't know, against him. I'd feel stupid to pick Brian Ortega and see like Diego Lopes completely steamroll him. I'd give myself a big neck. So what I'll do is I'll pick Diego Lopes, but I know this fight is going to be probably one of the hardest of Diego Lopez's career. It's not going to be a Sodiq Yusuff type of fight. It's not going to be who did he fought before? He fought I just said I know who he fought before, and I don't even know who he fought before Sodiq Yusuff. I should know this. I obviously watched it. Let me just look it up real quick. He fought Pat Sabatini. All right. I was not going to find that out. I remember watching that fight, but I don't remember Pat Sabatini, so I couldn't call out that name. But I think Diego Lopes is on an incredible run. And yeah, he has all the tools. Brian Ortega is a very beatable guy if you're not Yair Rodriguez and if you don't like quit on yourself. And I don't see Diego Lopes quitting on himself for no reason. I think he's going to be calculated. This is just something he has to be careful of because Brian Ortega actually gets better with rounds. So for Diego Lopes, you need to either find a finish early on or calculate yourself and like choose your energy spending correctly. That's important because if he goes out there and really just put everything in the first round and you know leaves no gas in the second or third, it might be a tough fight for Brian Ortega because for Diego Lopes because Ortega comes back and he stays in there. You saw it against every single one of them. Against Yair Rodriguez in his last fight, he was getting absolutely whooped in the first round and came back in the second and third and was still there against Volkanovski, against Holloway. Like it's crazy to see how much punishment he can take and still be dangerous himself. So for Diego Lopes, I just advise to be careful. Do not spend every last one of your energy in the first round. And I think if he's calculated, he gets it done. And I'm going to go Diego Lopes by... Can he break Ortega's titanium chin? Because Ortega is one of those, like, those stupid chin in the UFC, you know? He's one of those. Man, it's tough. I don't know if he can find a submission. You know what I say? I'll say I think he rocks Ortega. not enough to knock him out. And I think he finds a submission on the ground. I think he does. I know Ortega's a BJJ specialist, but I don't think it's because of like technicalities. I just think he's going to be so hurt that, you know, Lopez is going to be able to find that submission. Yeah, it's tough to see Lopez finishing Ortega in any way, to be honest, because of of Ortega's BJJ. It's so good offensively and defensively, and obviously his chin as well is tremendous. So I think it's going to be a small pieces of both. So he's going to rock him on the feet and then find a submission on the ground. That's what I'm going to go with. So Diego Lopez by submission, probably in the end of the second or third round. It's not going to be early. That's what I'll say. All right, main event. Alex Pereira versus Garry Prochazka. You know, I made the mistake of picking Garry Prochazka in the first fight, and I made the mistake of picking Jamal Hill in the first fight. In the last fight for Alex Pereira. I made a video after it, and I titled it, I've learned my lesson with Alex Pereira. I've learned my lesson. Have I learned my lesson, boys? I don't think I have. Oh, man, this one is so hard. This one is so hard. Because Garry Prochazka is the guy that had the most amount of success outside of Israel Adesanya in a fight with Alex Pereira. He was tagging him and he was touching him. It was a competitive fight for as long as it lasted. So it's very, very difficult for me to like easily pick someone in this fight because I do think it's a coin toss of a fight as well. I said this in a deeper dive. It's about who lands first. Or maybe I said this on TFB Stocks in my in the last video. I don't know. It's not going to be as simple as like who's the better kickboxer, because Prochazka brings something very creative to the table, and he makes fight like weird a little bit. You know, he makes fight unorthodox. He makes fighters. He makes Pereira. I mean, he made Pereira in the first fight on the back foot. You know, be the one like trying to catch him and stuff, and he eventually did. But oh man, obviously if you look at Prochazka's last performances, his last fight against Rakic, he got hit, man. He got hit a ton. And you look at it, you're like, bro, so you're telling me Pereira hit him with one clean left hook and put him out like that, but Rakic was hitting him with everything, and Prochazka was still in there. So just how great is Pereira's left hook? That's the question. And it seemed just like unreal, like the fucking touch of God, literally, because Prochazka is one of those dudes with tremendous chin, but he couldn't withstand that left hook from Pereira. And I just think in a 5-round fight, Pereira is bound to find it. You know what I mean? Fuck, man, this is actually tough. I should have done a bit more research and know for sure who I'm going to pick, because I actually don't know. You know what? I am going to go. Oh, man. Fuck. I'm going to go Garry, bro. I'm going to go Garry. I'm hearing it. I did an interview with Garry. I have to plug that out just because how fucking cool that is. Unedited interviews is on the Patreon, so go look it up if you want. And I swear to God, when I was talking to him, because I was talking to him one-on-one, like it was, we have that type of relationship. Y'all don't know, but Garry Prochazka, you could see it in his eyes, bro. He truly believed that he's the better fighter, and he truly believed that he has a chance. When you look at Jamal Hill saying it, it feels like he's just saying it to try to get that opportunity again. But when I talked to Garry, it truly felt like that's what he believed in, and that he wanted that fight for real. Like he truly wanted it. So I really don't have many reasons. I don't know why I'm picking Garry Prochazka, but I just think Garry Prochazka gets it done. His belief, his self-belief is so strong that I feel like it transcends into me, man. It transcends into the fans, and it's contagious. Like the way he speaks and stuff, you want to rally behind him. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick Garry Prochazka, and if I'm wrong, I'm fucking wrong again. I'm just going to put another video just titling it, fucking I learned my lesson with Alex Pereira. Maybe I haven't learned it enough. Fuck, I don't know. But I'm just thinking if he fights the same way in the first fight, but just is a little bit more cautious and grapples a little bit more, I think he can get it done. But it's going to be very, very hard. He has to avoid that left hand at all costs. I'm going to be so fucking stressed watching this fight. You see Adesanya when he fought Pereira for the second time, he knocked him out. And I think, Garry Prochazka can use that a little bit as for his advantage. Like, Alex Pereira might be overconfident a little bit. And I'm literally just trying to find a reason to pick Garry right now. I'm going to be honest, but I think Alex Pereira could come in a little bit overconfident same way he did against Adesanya and get caught in a exchange and not see it coming. Knees, elbows, spinning shit. Prochazka has that in the bag. I think he could put Pereira out. So I'm going to go Garry Prochazka by TKO in the second round. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to stop explaining because I'm going to fucking find a reason not to pick Garry Prochazka. So I'm going to just leave it at that. Let me know your predictions down below. Let me know if you're hyped for Chiasson versus Bueno Silva. It's going to be a hyped pay-per-view card. And if I have the time, because it's actually my dad's birthday this weekend, and I told him like I was trying to get back home as early as I can. But if the main card starts and I'm home and I have time to, figure it all out, I'm probably going to be streaming the main card of UFC 303 pay-per-view. So if you have time, come and chill. If you see that obviously if you see that I'm streaming, if I'm not, then I'll probably start at the next pay-per-view. But let me know your predictions, and I have to go now. Peace out, boys. Take care.